right, welcome to module number 8. After this, we are halfway across the semester. This will be a short lecture, really meant to give most of the time into the cases that you're working on. As you saw, these cases get bigger and deeper really fast. So I don't really want to take too much time away from your work. And also this chapter doesn't have a lot of content, especially for those who have already built up their knowledge coming up here. So rather than wasting your time talking about stuff you already know, we're just going to go right through. Starting with the tools of the trade. As investigators, you can put your focus into certain realms. For example, you could focus on just system forensics and just focus on the local computer and being able to get on that one system and be able to image it and be able to handle whatever comes at you that way. You could also focus on the network and be able to record and process through the information that comes in and out of systems. And for that, you'll need all kinds of tools like Wireshark, Ettercap, Splunk, Kibana, and so on and so forth. There's a number of tools at your disposal, both open source and commercial, that you could use to do network forensics. In the realm of network forensics, you need to be well aware of how networks work. You need to have a strong understanding of the various servers and services that are required on a network, how they function, how they record data, how to access that data. We need to understand how devices work, how to connect to them, how to access them, how to use them, and configure them, along with all the networking technologies that come with those. Now, if networking is your thing, you will be right at home, because network forensics uses all your networking knowledge. You don't have to be a CCNA certified expert, but it would definitely be useful for network forensics. Now, incident response is a little different from digital forensics. It focuses on security and threat detection, whereas forensics does the remediation. In incident response, we deal with things like monitoring unusual logons, malware, data exfiltration, unusual external IP addresses connecting, all that kind of stuff. Threat intelligence is as important, because attacks are happening all the time, and we need to be able to detect them when they're occurring and start triggering events to protect and defend, and also record. One of the bigger threats is advanced persistent threats. These are sophisticated, they are relentless and coordinated attacks with a usual goal of stealing intellectual property. They are difficult to identify when a network is initially compromised by an APT. It is a challenge to contain the infection of the malware, since these attackers move laterally through the network, and it becomes even more problematic if a large number of credentials have been compromised, since successful logons do not raise flags like unsuccessful logons do. It's problematic to determine what data has been compromised, since the attacker may encrypt data that is being exfiltrated from the network using techniques like time stomping to thwart the work of forensic investigators. An example APT would be like SolarWinds, who nobody saw coming. Someone doesn't sign up to become an APT. It's definitely a process of looking at who my target is going to be, figuring out what their vulnerabilities are, and play the long game to getting access into the system, to hiding within that system and being able to move around the network undetected, slowly building up information, slowly building up the you know working into the baseline so that nobody sees that you are doing something odd, and being able to extract data without detection. It is definitely a long process, but it took quite some time for SolarWinds to get out, and that's because of things like this. The cyber kill chain is often talked about in incident response. It has this process. Sometimes it's shown like this, sometimes it's shown circular. Either way, it's all the same. The kill chain always starts with reconnaissance, getting information about the adversary through ways that are undetected, like job postings, press releases, tech forums, sources. Weaponization would be the adversary placing malicious code into a payload, such as a PDF, a Trojan, spam, Wi-Fi, however they can. The delivery could include something like SQL injection, spear phishing, etc. The exploitation would be the actual execution of the payload, like clicking on a link, downloading a file, going to a site. The command and control, or the C2, is the system used to conduct the attack. It will obfuscate the attack to make requests look legitimate. This could be done through things like Twitter, or Google Groups, or AWS. And then there's exfiltration, the theft of the data from the network. Again, this does not happen fast. This is something that takes months of planning, that takes slow but steady progress to go to reconnaissance to see what the target is, what do they have, how can we access them, creating our weapon that's going to work, delivering that weapon, and making sure that that weapon successfully is delivered, and the victim actually clicks the link or opens the file or does whatever. When that happens, then we're able to take control and exfiltrate what we need. So as forensics investigators, we have to be on alert. We have to make sure that what we're looking for is abnormal, and that the baseline hasn't been altered by an attacker. Because if they do, we're stuck. Some things that are at your disposal could be things like YARA rules. They can be used to classify and identify malware and any odd traffic. Things like dynamic link library sideloading is another way that attackers try to get information, try to get malicious code into legitimate software. And if our threat detection is working properly, it will notice when something like that is happening and stop it and let us know, hey, there's something odd happening, need to take a look. Along with this, of course, is the indicators of compromise. Things like changes in the registry, DLL files, changes in email, network ports, things in the master file table, or even event logs. And of course, investigating a network attack will require a number of tools together, a number of devices already listening on the network. It takes a lot of preemptive work to get everything set up. Like as you see with my packet wall experiment, it was not a one-day thing. It takes a while to build up. And then once it's built, it's going to take more time to refine and set up properly in order to fully detect anything that weird happening on a network. And then once you do detect something, then how are you going to react? What are you going to do to stop it? So as I said, this lecture is not long because this assumes that you're taking this class after already have taken a networking class and security plus, because a lot of this is review. A lot of this has already been covered before. So don't want to waste your time with just regurgitating IP addresses and subnet masks and all that. So your work ahead will be working through, again, try Hack Me, finding more rooms that relate to incident response, or you can always search for rooms that fit either digital forensics or incident response. And you just submit a proof of completion. And you also have the case number 4, the last of the starter cases. The files, as always, are in that Google Drive. You have 4 questions to ask, but just because they're 4 doesn't mean that it's going to be a nice, short little thing. Are there any questions? There is no midterm for this class. You just complete the Try Hack Me stuff, complete case 4, complete any of the other work prior, and the review, and that is all you need to do for this class. I do not have a midterm, and as I'll reiterate, just because there is actually no final exam, it is just these cases that you'll need to work on when we come back from spring break. Yara rules can do all kinds of searches in strings. So you could set up for odd things that you don't expect on the network. You could look for specific things. It does regex. If you, yeah, there's all kinds of great things that Yara can do. So looking at my chats for any other questions. Okay, seeing none, I will stop the stream and the recording.